Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, February 15th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The fallout from a missed COVID-19 vaccine shipment is still being felt this evening across San Diego. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the county's largest vaccination station remains closed due to lack of supply.
This area of 13th and K is normally packed full of people waiting in their vehicles to get vaccinated, but right now those gates are closed.
The effect of that delayed Moderna shipment is still being felt this week in San Diego. This morning at the Petco Park site, we saw people driving up for appointments not realizing that they had been postponed. Some good news, though. UC San Diego officials tell us that that shipment is on track to arrive tomorrow, and this site that can deliver 5,000 vaccines daily should be back up and running on Wednesday.
Go ahead, ma'am.
The missed shipment has not stopped vaccinations at other super sites.
Just was very simply, you follow the steps. It's not that complicated.
Today at the Grossmont Center vaccination site in La Mesa, the line was long but moving quickly.
I got lucky. I got it right in, and walking through this thing was, the line was long, but people are spread apart, so it was nothing. It was just about as fast as I could walk. I got in here.
Sharp healthcare officials say they have enough supply to get through the week and will continue to offer appointments here and at the Chula Vista Superstation.
Booked it this morning online, came down. They have a good system. It really went smoothly.
County officials say the vaccination superstation at Cal State San Marcos has enough doses to stay open and will prioritize second dose appointments. The new Del Mar Fairgrounds site this afternoon was showing some open appointments for as early as this Wednesday. People we talked to today getting their first doses say they are not too concerned about any potential delays for their second appointments.
No, because, at the end of the day, it's going to happen. The worst thing is it'll be a few days later.
We had Pfizer, so they mostly advertised that it was Moderna that was going to be short. But we did take the earliest appointment we could with Pfizer.
UC San Diego health officials say everyone who missed appointments due to the late shipment will have them rescheduled. The delay does not seem to be affecting the county's partners too much. CAL FIRE San Diego is still trying to reach those living in rural areas and nursing homes. San Diego Fire Rescue officials say they have open vaccination appointments for this week in Balboa Park and at the Malcolm X Library. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And we have more information at kpbs.org. You could just click on the vaccines tab on our homepage and you'll find a searchable map with clinic locations and links to make an appointment if you are eligible. We're seeing coronavirus cases drop even more here in San Diego County, but the death toll remains high. Today, 693 new cases were reported and no additional deaths. Over the weekend, we surpassed 3,000 total deaths, while daily case numbers have stayed below 1,000. It's a similar story throughout California, which now has the highest death toll in the nation. However, health officials say they are confident the state is emerging from its worst surge of the pandemic. The Biden White House is eager to put an ambitious agenda front and center after the impeachment vote closed out the Trump era on Capitol Hill. Biden will hit the road this week to make a push for his $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, but he'll need the help of Congress. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look ahead.
With the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump ended,
and he is hereby acquitted of the charge.
Democrats eager to focus on President Joe Biden's agenda. First, his massive COVID relief proposal.
A lot of the current relief will expire in the middle of March, including the extended unemployment insurance benefits.
A number of House committees moved on portions of the legislation last week. Republicans arguing the $1.9 trillion plan is too much.
Republicans want to provide support where it's needed, but this package goes far beyond that scope.
In brushing off a $600 billion plan from a group of GOP senators, Biden showed little willingness to yield on scope or speed.
We had Republicans in the White House, Republican and Democratic mayors and governors in the White House last week, talking to them about the plan, many of whom supported. So we're going to keep moving on in a bipartisan manner.
The White House facing pressure on a pledge to reopen schools within their first 100 days and concerns new coronavirus variants could thwart vaccine progress.
I would be very concerned, and my advice is to continue masking, to continue socially distance, and to avoid crowded environments. I mean, we have a few months to go, and we will be in a much better shape by this summer.
Biden hoping to keep COVID relief moving while eyeing other early priorities, including infrastructure and immigration. In Washington, Karen Kefa, KPBS News.
Tomorrow, the Chula Vista City Council is set to approve more than $16 million in rental and other forms of relief to residents impacted by the pandemic. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us who will qualify and how they can get help.
The $16.8 million comes from a mix of state and federal funds meant to help pay the day-to-day bills of people in a city hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Chula Vista Mayor Mary Salas announced the relief fund will help not only cover past or current rent, but also utility bills.
Many have struggled to pay the rent, gas, electric, water, and sewer bills. Some have been faced with these hardships for the first time ever. These funds can help those who meet the eligibility requirements to get those bills paid.
Currently, an eviction moratorium in the state protects most renters from eviction over non-payment. But back rent continues to pile up for renters, and there have been no similar programs for those who have fallen behind on utilities. The city of Chula Vista has set up a website for those seeking assistance to see if they qualify, and a call-in line for those without internet access. Residents can sign up for notifications about the program at chulavistaca.gov/tenant help. The County of San Diego has its own separate rent relief fund, which is meant to reach county residents who live outside of cities like Chula Vista, which have qualified for direct aid from the state and federal governments. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
For the third time this month, Feeding San Diego is distributing food to hospitality workers. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says today's effort helped roughly 700 households.
Cars lined up at Pechanga Arena Monday for Feeding San Diego's emergency food distribution, specifically targeted to hospitality workers who either lost their jobs or got their hours cut because of the pandemic. Bob Kaminsky is the Chief Strategy Officer for Feeding San Diego.
At last count that we saw, there were about 77,000 workers in this particular industry segment that had been displaced from work. So as a result, many of them have never experienced the need to reach out to others for help.
For hospitality workers like Shanice Scott, the ripple effects of the pandemic have caused economic hardship.
It's been really rough for me personally to maintain employment. I recently started working, and honestly, if I didn't come and pick up this food, I honestly wouldn't know where my food would come from until I got paid.
The distributions will provide each household with 50 pounds of food, including frozen meat, produce, and dry goods. Along with the food, people are getting information on how to access Feeding San Diego distributions close to their homes, and about CalFresh, the state-run program providing monthly food benefits for low-income families.
I don't qualify for food stamps. I don't qualify for other food programs. So just to be able to have the opportunity to get some help with getting food, it makes a difference for me, really.
One more distribution session for this month is planned for next Monday, February 22nd. It will also be for people working in the hospitality industry, and attendees must register online at feedingsandiego.org. Kaminsky says Feeding San Diego plans to continue large-scale food distribution efforts in the coming months, including one in Legoland area for the general public. Jacob Ayers, KPBS News.
The effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom just got a cash infusion. The California Republican Party is giving $125,000 to the campaign. Organizers say they've gathered the 1.5 million signatures required to get on the ballot, but they're aiming to collect 2 million signatures by the mid-March deadline to make sure they have enough valid signatures. Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer and Rancho Santa Fe businessman John Cox are two Republicans hoping to replace Newsom. New details have emerged about an unethical liver study performed on San Diego veterans. iNews Source investigative reporter Jill Castellano has the latest.
San Diego VA researchers performed a study on patients with liver disease from 2013 to 2018. They were supposed to collect leftover tissue samples from veterans who received liver biopsies during their medical care. But whistleblowers claim that VA researchers convinced patients to get unnecessary biopsies so the samples could be used for research, putting the veterans at risk of bleeding and other serious complications. New reports show the VA investigated the claims twice, but failed to corroborate them. In a letter to President Joe Biden this week, a federal watchdog agency called the VA's most recent investigation unreasonable. It said that whistleblowers have provided clear and convincing evidence for their allegations. Martina Buck, one of the whistleblowers, says she was fired for speaking out and thinks people need to be held accountable for what happened.
Something needs to be done. Something needs to be balanced. I need some sort of closure.
iNews Source first broke the story about the unethical liver research in 2018. To learn more about it, go to inewssource.org. I'm iNews Source investigative reporter Jill Castellano.
iNews Source is an independent nonprofit partner of KPBS. 1 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine were sent to about 6,500 pharmacies last week. The pharmacies, including some here in San Diego, were selected by the CDC for their ability to reach the most vulnerable Americans. Mandy Gaither has more on what you need to know before getting a vaccine appointment from a pharmacy.
As the number of Americans getting coronavirus vaccines continues to rise, vaccine supplies keep falling. But more doses have been purchased, and President Joe Biden says the U.S. is now on track to have enough vaccines for 300 million Americans by the end of July.
As supply ramps up, we're also creating new convenient locations for vaccinations. These include standing up community vaccination centers, deploying mobile vaccine units, and launching new programs with pharmacies.
The federal government began direct shipments of coronavirus vaccines to pharmacies late last week. More than half of the 1 million available doses were allocated to CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid. But not all stores will get the vaccine initially. In a news release, CVS said as more supply becomes available, the company will expand to additional states while increasing the number of stores offering vaccinations. The pharmacies that receive the doses will follow the state's guidelines and only vaccinate people who are eligible in that state. Appointments can be made online or by phone. At Walgreens, appointments can be booked through a vaccine scheduler, and the CVS website lets you search by state. Everyone will be able to get the vaccine at no cost, and there's normally a 15-minute wait time after getting the COVID-19 shot, which is in place to make sure people don't have an allergic reaction. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A special enrollment period for uninsured Americans to buy health insurance is now open. The Affordable Care Act's enrollment period runs each year in November and December. But President Biden signed an executive order to open the federal exchange on healthcare.gov for another 3 months. 15 million uninsured people qualify for benefits. Individuals who make up to $51,000 and families of 4 earning up to $105,000 are eligible for subsidies to help pay premiums. Valentine's Day weekend was one of the busiest for air travel during the pandemic. Millions of people flew, but airlines worry the number could drop again. Not because of the virus, instead because of possible action from the Biden administration. Pete Montine explains.
This is actually the busiest air travel weekend we have seen since the holidays. And now the question is whether or not these numbers will last. The TSA just said more than 900,000 people passed through security at America's airports on Sunday, more than 900,000 people on Saturday, more than 1 million people on Friday, more than 1.1 million people on Thursday. Airlines say we would not be seeing numbers like this if the CDC mandated that domestic travelers get tested for coronavirus at the start of their trip. That whole idea really thrust into the limelight last week by Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. He said the Biden administration was talking with the CDC about that. Airlines pushed back hard, and they met with the Biden administration on Friday. And only a few hours after that meeting did the CDC and the White House say they were not considering a domestic travel testing requirement at this time. Instead, the CDC recommending that passengers get tested 1 to 3 days before the start of their trip, then again 3 to 5 days after their trip. We will see if all the people traveling this weekend follow through with that. It does seem, though, that travelers are following through with another recommendation from the CDC, which is simply to not travel. These numbers, only about 45% of what they were a year ago. Pete Montine, CNN, Reagan National Airport.
Much of the nation is experiencing a historic winter ice storm. Take a look at what's happening across the southern plains. In South Texas, the famed historical site, the Alamo, was blanketed by snow. And like many areas, power outages are keeping homes and businesses in the dark. Temperatures in the teens in many states.
We'll have some wind in the area tonight and also a few showers as a system swings rapidly through the area. And then for the end of the week, it looks like we should be nice and sunny, dry, and warmer weather is on the way. Overnight tonight, there are some wind advisories, especially inland sections. They head up into the mountains. That's where the winds will be strongest. Precipitation-wise, there could be a couple of showers around. We're pending in a few showers here in San Diego. Oceanside's down to 50. Ramona's at 47 and El Cajon 54. Looking at the future radar for you, notice a little bit of green overnight tonight. That means we'll be getting a little bit on the wet side. Precipitation amounts should be on the light side, maybe 1/10 of an inch for some of the wetter spots. That system's out of here, and we're back to drier conditions on Tuesday. Temperatures here, low to mid 60s, Oceanside to San Diego, Escondido to El Cajon, Borrego Springs 73, and Campo's at 55. Wednesday, well, we're dry and mild, still a little bit of a gusty northerly flow, but we're in a dry stretch here through the weekend. Here's our extended forecast. Sunshine's coming back Tuesday, and then pleasant Wednesday into Thursday with plenty of sunshine. As we take you into the inland sections, we'll be warming it up. Temperatures rising to the low 70s, quite comfortable Thursday, Friday. And as we head our way up into the mountains, getting a little bit chilly here. Strong winds subside on Tuesday, but a little bit nippy there. Temperatures will start to rebound a little bit by Friday. And into the deserts, temperatures cool off just a little bit, but the sunshine looks like some beautiful weather for the end of the week into the weekend. And for KPBS News, I am meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
California is poised to begin the first major restoration project at the Salton Sea. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the project is a long time coming.
The state is investing more than $200 million in a project that'll create flooded ponds and other habitat on the exposed lake bed at the southern edge of the lake. Wade Crowfoot is Secretary of the California Resources Department, which is overseeing the project.
We'll complete the work over the next 2.5 years. I believe completing the project in 2023.
The Salton Sea began shrinking rapidly in 2018 when the Imperial Irrigation District stopped feeding the state's largest lake, exposing a dusty and dangerous lake bed. California committed to a multi-billion-dollar restoration effort as part of a deal that allows water to be sold to cities like San Diego.
This is the first major project that the state has advanced to address the challenges of the Salton Sea, both worsening air quality as a result of emissive dust and restoration of habitat for birds on the Pacific Flyway and fish.
The project can't be started soon enough for Imperial Valley clean air advocate Luis Olmedo. He says the region is enduring a respiratory endemic. It persistently has some of the highest asthma rates in California. There's already industrial, agricultural, and vehicular pollution.
When we talk about Salton Sea, that's an entirely new source
Every time we're peeling back every inch of that playa, we're exposing over 100 years of contaminated sediment.
That sediment gets picked up by winds and breathed in by residents, degrading the region's already poor air quality.
It is a best available control measure to do water habitat types of project, and that's what the federal government requires.
This project is part of a comprehensive plan to eventually cover close to 40,000 acres of exposed lakebed. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Some good news now about those gorillas at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. They've now recovered from their bout with coronavirus and they're ready for visitors. The 8-member troop had been out of view after contracting the virus in January, and during that time they received care from experts in both human and veterinary medicine. The troop was likely exposed by a keeper. In a few years, monitoring your health could be as easy as wearing a sticker. The UC San Diego Nano Engineering Lab created a non-invasive patch which uses ultrasound tech to monitor blood pressure and heart rate. It also analyzes sweat for things like glucose levels or alcohol and sends the information back to a smartphone. It could be a game changer for people with diabetes who would no longer need finger pricks to test their blood sugar. It would also make telehealth a lot easier.
You can analyze the patient remotely without going to the lab or to the clinic, and this is the way it will transmit the data to the caregiver, to the doctor, or self-testing.
Researchers are still working on the device to make it more affordable and easier to mass produce. It also needs wide-scale testing and FDA approval. Its doors to live performances, but the nonprofit is putting the downtime to good use by starting long overdue building renovations. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando had Diversionary's executive artistic director take us on a tour of the remodel in progress.
Hi there, my name is Matt Morrow. I'm the executive artistic director of Diversionary Theater. And now I'm going to give you a tour of the renovations as they're happening. So very exciting. On the front of Diversionary, we're getting an all-new marquee on the front and a digital display that's going to increase our street presence. Very exciting. The stairs up to the theater are going to be redirected down to this patio, so you don't have to go outside to the street to get up to the theater. So let's go inside and I'll show you what we're planning on doing. So in here, this is the wall that's completely going away, so this is going to open up to the outdoor patio, and then an indoor lounge that's this entire space, and then a full bar that's going to stretch the expanse of this wall right here. And then the sign behind the bar is this beautiful like light up plexi. So over here in the middle of the space are going to be a series of cabaret tables. The cabaret tables will be made out of antimicrobial materials. We're thinking the tops are going to be pounded copper, which neutralizes viral contagion. And then over here in the corner, there's going to be a small stage with a grand piano, and this is going to be a really exciting high energy space. Okay, so this is the Diversionary main stage. It's currently gutted. We're going to get all new theater seats, obviously. And the stage itself is going to get just a little bit larger by about 3 feet. Back here, very excited about this. There's going to be a door that opens up so we can just load in the scenic elements really easily from the scenic shop right down the hall. So before we would have to build everything in pieces and then bring them in here through the little bitty side door and build the set all on the stage. So if you want to come this way, we are going backstage. Here are dressing rooms that are being gutted. So all new dressing rooms for our cast and crew to enjoy. One very exciting thing is that right now the actors share a bathroom with the audience. So it's a little bit of a diversionary trick where the actors have to like sneak into the bathroom when the audience isn't there. The actors will now have their own bathroom. It's going to be installed right over here. So if you come this way, this entire space here is our scenic shop. This is where we build our sets and our preps, and This was our old Black Box Theater. It's now the Rule K. Olin New Play Development Center. This way, in this room, is a very exciting space. This is going to be the Diversionary Education Center, which is going to be the headquarters for all of our progressive arts education and outreach programs, headed by our Director of Arts Education and Outreach, Skylar Sullivan. Because we can't produce, it is the perfect time to renovate. And it's also the perfect time to really address what a safe space means, you know? As the LGBTQ theater here in San Diego, we have been providing a safe space for our community for 35 years. COVID-19 has caused us to reevaluate what a safe space means and really interrogate that relative to COVID-19. So I feel very grateful that we've been able to integrate all of those safety and security measures. So when we are coming back and reemerging from COVID-19, we bring people into this neighborhood from all over San Diego to enjoy the restaurants and the cafes and the coffee shops and the bars. Our recovery is going to be their recovery. So very excited about that.
NASA's most sophisticated rover is expected to land on the surface of Mars on Thursday. Named Perseverance, the rover has been traveling through space since the end of July. Once on Mars, it will begin a 2-year mission to search for signs of ancient life and study the planet's climate and geology. The spacecraft also has Ingenuity on board. That's the first helicopter that will fly on another planet. It's expected to have 5 test flights during a 30-day period. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.